You're listening to REIA Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out REIARadio.com.
That's how I am with every single property that we do. I joke that no matter what, I will always make sure that when I get out, I'd be like, I would live here. You know, this is nice. I don't care how much it costs as far as like the house and the area. It's okay. Like we can still make it look nice on a budget. You know, it can still make people feel special. And when they come in and they're proud of going to that house, to live in that house, that's what drives me.
Welcome to REIA Radio, episode 252 with Liz Buonincontri.
Ted is celebrating. I have a feeling that was not even close. But fun fact, Liz, did you know that you share some heritage with Ted? Ted, you want to tell her why?
Oh, I have family in Curitiba, Brazil, and Sao Paulo, Brazil, where my mom was born.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's so cool.
I'm first generation on my mom's side in the States.
I was trying to get Ted to come out here with some Brazilian dialect just to impress you, but he wasn't up to the challenge today.
Do you speak any?
So my mom was 5 when she came to the country, and they gave her a lot of hard time in school. So she wanted me to be Americanized and didn't want me to know the language.
I get it.
So that was like her big thing. So the only time they talked Portuguese or German around me is when they wanted to talk about something that I wasn't supposed to know.
Tactics.
And then when I go to our family's Brazilian parties here in town, which are like a couple times a summer, and I'm the only person that doesn't speak Portuguese now. And it'll be like 40, 50 people from Brazil.
Wow.
Ted's still working on his English skills also, as you can tell. But hey, so Liz, I was excited to talk to you. I have some notes based on what you've got out there on the socials, but we kind of share a little bit of a similar background. I've obviously been doing this a little bit longer than you.
He's definitely not from Brazil,
yeah. But you came from a Big Four consulting background, correct?
That's right. Yes, I used to work at UI.
At UI, and what aspect of consulting did you do? Like, what was your role?
So I worked with the compliance department with anti-money laundering.
Oh,
very
cool.
Regulatory, sounded cooler than it was, but it was interesting.
Did you ever go out and bust anybody? Like, did you get to, participate in that? Like, wear an FBI blazer or anything?
No, but I did hear stories, a lot of stories. So that was cool. But,
you helped put together basically the case notes or the information that law enforcement would need in order to bust a money laundering ring. Is that kind of how it worked?
So basically, like when a bank was in trouble for some things, then the SEC would come in and we'll find them. And then they would come to us and be like, we need help. We have, flaws in our system. And then would go in and review their systems and do all that and, basically go through their client database. And then from there, anything that was like a flag would raise it up to them. And then it was on them to make sure that, they complied and everything.
Even when we had Jason, the Secret Service agent, he didn't have very fun stories either. He was like, I just sat in a van, watch counterfeiters.
Yeah, what you see on Netflix for those type of shows is not reality. That's what seems to be the case here.
Yeah.
When you get like Jocko in to get like one of those like crazy stories.
But no, okay, so working in Big Four, when you worked on these engagements, were these kind of like longer term? Did you work on like 12 months, 18-month engagements, or were these kind of quick hitters, or how did that work?
It depended. So there's one that I was in for basically a whole year, and it just it kept switching and adding on because we kept finding out things, and we're like, okay, well, we're not ready to leave. So that one was long. And then there's a few that was kind of in and out, like a few months in, and then would switch to a different project. So it just depended.
Did you ever encounter any cases where real estate investors were like laundering money through a front or something like that? Or was it mostly other types of businesses?
It was different types of business, but yeah,
okay.
I wasn't thinking real estate then,
Yeah. Okay, cool. So now you've been a full-time real estate investor for, it looked like 5 years. Is that right?
5 years. Yes.
So you said peace out to Big Four, and you said now I'm going into the glamorous world of real estate investing. What did that look like? How did you even? Why did that enter your world?
So Tom, my husband, he was my boyfriend at the time, because like we both came from the same world. Like we shared that. We worked at the same company, different departments, that's how we met. So when we started dating, we started sharing a lot of our frustrations with a lot of things. Like, I had to travel a lot for work. So it was fine. It was fun, all paid for. But when you're thinking family and, having kids and all, and I did see other women doing it, and I'm like, I don't want to do this. I can't see myself. That was like the biggest dream of my life, to be a mom. And I just couldn't see myself like traveling all that much and not being with my kids. And I feel like he shared a lot of the frustration too, like when you didn't have control of your time and, when you raised up something, you'd almost like get in trouble for saying, hey, can I do something else? I'm not happy in this department, or I want to switch to something just to try it out. And it wasn't welcome, right? Like things were it was very strict. So we shared a lot of that frustration, and he was like, yeah, one day I would want to be a real estate investor. And I always told myself, I always want to work for other people because it's easier, because, I don't have to worry about it. So then, here's this guy telling me real estate investing. I had no idea what that looked like aside from HGTV.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, that sounds exciting. So then that's when he introduced me to Bigger Pockets. And I remember like at the time I was living in New York City, and I remember like walking my dog, listening to Bigger Pockets and thinking like, oh my gosh, like these people are making all this money and it sounds really cool, so maybe we should do something like this. And I kept listening to different episodes, and I think the fire started like, kind of like going up, up and up. And then we moved in together, and then his apartment was old. He lived in Long Island, but the apartment was old.
What year was this around?
That was in 2018. Yeah, 2018,
okay.
2017.
Put a timeline to everything. Cool.
Yeah. Yep. So, and then 2019, I was like, okay, I want to do this. I want to do real estate investing. And he was like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, you're the one who like brought up in the first place, He was getting a little bit more scared than I was. And so came 2020 with the pandemic and everything. We had already talked about like different states and what we're going to do. And I said, let's just do it. Wherever we go, like, I don't care. I'm a gypsy at heart. I'll move. I don't care. So then he, Tom is like, he's very detail oriented. So he did a whole spreadsheet. He put all the different states we could move into and the reasons why we should move there, blah, blah, blah. So we landed in Charlotte, North Carolina in 2020. That's when it started.
That's when it all started, huh? Now, what was first for you guys? So you packed up, moved to Charlotte and said, let's go. Did you quit your job right away?
So no, I didn't. So what happened was like, it was a kind of random start. So because you come from like that corporate background, I wanted to be like a safe switch. So then I joined this big wholesale company, and I don't know, I just had it in my gut, like maybe not a good fit for you, but that's where I was like, well, I don't have another option, so I'm going to go there. So I was still kind of figuring it out. I got my real estate license because I thought that I was going to be the real estate agent, the person who was like doing all the spreadsheets and everything. And Tom would be, being that cliche, like he's going to be the general contractor and everything. So he's going to do that. And he was still keeping his W-2, just for the record, because I was making good income. He was making good income. We were used to a different lifestyle, and then switching that completely, we weren't ready for that yet. So what happened was I joined that place, and I was there for a solid 10 days. And then I was like, this is not for me. I don't like the way these guys are doing business. I don't like the lack of transparency. And I come from a place, very rigid, like there's like a lot of policies and everyone follows the same rules. So anyway, so long story short, it was like 10 days. But the good thing that came out of that, it was that I had a good relationship with one of the wholesalers, and he knew that I wanted to get into real estate investing. And I was ready to just buy the next house that was like coming to my way. And Tom was like, no, let's crunch the numbers. He had his calculator, which, you see the speed, I'm ready to go. And then he's like, no, let's just review everything. So the first house that we bought was sight unseen. This wholesaler colleague of mine called me. He's like, hey, we're putting out this really good deal. It's in an area that we were somewhat familiar with. And I was on the phone with him. I was like, Tom, there's this deal. And he's like, okay, tell me more. So I put him on speaker. We ran the numbers, and he made so much sense. And we were like, all right, let's do it. And we bought the house, sight unseen. just like that. And it was like a tiny thing. And so we had talked about our strategy, and it was going to be a BRRRR strategy. And I was really focused on making it look really pretty. And I was like, well, I don't even know what the house looks like exactly, but I'll make sure it looks good. And so we bought it. And that was like our first little, I joke that's like our first little shack, but it was a money-making shack. So that was good. We bought it at $60,000.
Oh, wow.
I feel like anybody that started investing in 2016 to 2020 and listened to Bigger Pockets, you were doing a BRRRR, including myself.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right?
Now, was that in your was that in kind of your backyard, like in the Charlotte area in and around there, or was it somewhere else?
Yeah, it was in Concord. So it's about 40 minutes away from Charlotte. And it was funny because like we were doing a lot of research ourselves, like what area, because we weren't familiar with Charlotte at all. And I wanted to invest in Charlotte, but the entry point was a lot higher. And, you know, being that we are very risk averse in the sense of like, let's just try to mitigate as much as we can and all that. So 60,000 seemed like, okay, this is low enough that if, you know, hits the fan, then it's okay. We only lost $60,000 versus like, if it's something that's like, I don't know, like 140, you know, that would take all of our savings and it would be a big problem. So we went with it and it was tiny. So the next day we went in. And I have my camera on me. I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. Hi, guys. I'm here, like, ready to go Chip and Joanna Gaines mode. Yeah. And then I'm walking, and then I'm walking around, and I didn't know, but there's a hole in the subfloor. And I just go, boom. I just go through. And
Oh my God, you fell to the basement?
One leg was down. Yes.
You break it?
No, thank God.
Oh.
But it was funny.
That is, yeah. So you kind of reined in your excitement a little bit after that. And we're a little more careful walking around, I imagine.
Yeah. Now I look where I'm going versus like, you know, just go.
Can we put a link to that video in the show notes afterwards?
Oh, I don't have a video of that. I was done. So what happened was like I was taking a picture and like making the videos, and I have the video. It's perfect. Hey, it's so great, blah, blah, blah. But then it just like, I just went through because I was showing Tom like the outside and he was in the other room. I was like, Tom, this is really good. Boom. And I just went through, and then I just hear, and it's a curse word because that's what he said. He said, holy shit. And I was like, just don't say it. Just come get me. Because I didn't know it was in the freaking like crawl space. And so he got me. And then we're like, what did we buy? Oh my God. So long story short, there was termite, but it wasn't active anymore. Thank God.
Okay. You had some old termite damage.
Yeah. And honestly, that was literally the only bad part of the whole house in the subfloor, which I happened to go through. So.
Okay, Tom being the spreadsheet guy, did he have kind of a nice, pretty pro forma that he put together with the numbers on it, how much it was going to cost to do everything? Give us your post-mortem on that. Was he on, way off, or within kind of an acceptable range on the estimates?
No, he was right on. He was right
on.
Oh,
really?
With like, yeah. And I don't even know why, because it was like our first time doing it. He had been listening to Bigger Pockets for a lot longer. He had been thinking about the idea for a lot longer than I was. And so like when it came time, like he understood the concept, and also like his background is in structured finance. So he did a lot of the underwriting, or he helped the banks with the underwriting process. Cause at EY, like basically after the market crashed in 2009, you know, it became really strict with a lot of the underwriting. And so EY at the time, and they still do that, they help, you know, the underwriters like reviewing everything and making sure everything ties out, make sure everything's good before they go to the investors. So that's kind of like his area, you know. So he was very familiar with the calculators he put together. And so when we bought the house, the first thing that we did was like make sure that the GCs, whoever we hired, you know, was within our budget. And because the house was so small, it ended up being fine. And we were willing to put the sweat equity, which we didn't know what we didn't know. And we did it, you know.
Yeah. Okay. So you're new into Charlotte. You buy a house sight unseen. You go out, almost fall through the floor, and you're working off of a spreadsheet that you guys put together. By the way, big four for the win. You don't hear very many people going into their first deal and being dead on with the rehab numbers. So kudos to you for that. How much money did you put into the house? Do you remember that off top of your head?
Yeah, I do, because it wasn't much. It was like $20,000.
Okay.
So because so what happened was like the tiling was really expensive, and that's when I learned how to tile really good. Because I was like, oh,
Okay.
let me watch some YouTube videos. We're going to save on this. And so the GC was also very nice. He kind of like gave us the insight as to like materials, what we should buy and everything. So he kind of worked with us to help us like make sure that we got the materials. But the labor was like Tom and I. But at the time he was still holding his W-2. So we were tiling past his like hours until like midnight sometimes or.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. But we were determined.
How many tile jobs have you done since then?
So I quit doing not that long ago. I was still pregnant with my first son and I was tiling. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So
That's something our wives would never do.
no, not at all.
I don't think my wife is reluctant to even come to one of the rehab flip projects.
If I fell dead tomorrow, Jen would know like where one of our investment properties is.
That's impressive. That's impressive, Liz.
So, okay. So you sunk 80 grand into this all in. So you went to a bank and got it appraised. Let me back up real quick. Did you buy that with financing or did you guys plunk down some of that big four cash that you were raking in?
No. So what happened was like for that one, we paid out front with our money. And then we put $20,000 in. So yeah, we did upfront the cash on the first one.
Okay. Yep. And then did you just leave it in or did you go to a bank and refinance it and do your first BRRRR?
Oh yeah, no, we went to the bank. So
Okay.
what happened was like, we wanted to make sure that, it wouldn't be so crazy. So we put $20,000 in, but the house looked really nice. And we pushed the envelope with the rent, which was great. And then when we went to the bank, we didn't have to wait all that. We went to the bank to refinance. I don't know what I mean by that, like the seasoning period or anything like that. So we went to the bank and we got it appraised and it appraised at like 130.
Okay. Awesome.
So that was really good. So we had some money after the BRRRR. So we joked that was like our perfect BRRRR. Not all BRRRRs were perfect after that, but that one was really good.
Yeah. That is a textbook BRRRR, right?
Exactly.
You're all in for 80, appraises for 130. You can refi out. Did you take as much money as you could out of it that the bank would allow, or did you leave? Okay. So you maxed out 80% LTV?
Yeah. So I don't remember, but something like that. And then the biggest thing for us was like the interest rate was so low that the property would still cash flow even after paying for the mortgage, right? Because that was the biggest thing. Like we want to make sure that we get a little bit of cash flow. And because the interest rates were so low, we were able to, one, get the rents to go a little bit higher because the house was nicer. And two, because the interest rates were so low, the mortgage payment wasn't so high. So then we still had a good margin.
Okay. So it appraised for 130. What did it rent for? Do you recall?
Yeah, it was like $11.50 at the time. And that was really high for the area. And I remember other investors, I was part of an investor, program, and we like to hang around together, We're crazy people. We hang out.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. We've got the same thing.
That's
here.
how we met.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I'm really surprised by the price point, honestly, because Charlotte it keeps getting named over and over and over again as like a really popular spot that people are moving to. North Carolina is beautiful. It's got a lot going for it. I'm just shocked at that price point. I mean, we have some stuff like in a similar, in kind of like not lower income areas, but there's definitely starter homes that you can still buy in and around Omaha for, well, maybe not today, but definitely like in 2019, 2020, when you were doing this, you could buy stuff for under 100 grand.
Hey,
no problem.
My very first actual BRRRR I bought in 2019 also. And I bought for $12,000.
Oh my God.
But I had to put in almost 90,000. But it's almost your exact same numbers. I mean, it appraised for I don't even remember exactly, like 150. And so, I mean, right there with you. And that area didn't get good rents. And I was getting $1,550 rent on that property. And I was just like, home run. There we go.
It's amazing.
If you have a good first BRRRR, especially when you get going, I mean, it can just set the trajectory. And because people that fail on that first one, sometimes they never come back.
Yeah, it's true. And it gets a little scary because there's so many unknowns. Like every single time that you buy a house, you can either go okay, what am I going to find? Or all right, what am I going to find? There's a different mindset of there's always a surprise factor no matter what. But, for me, the fact that I was able to, before we bought the house, I was hanging around a lot of the real estate investors, and some of them were just fearless in the sense of at the end of the day, it's just, brick and mortar for the foundation. And that's what people fear the most is foundation problems. And then I was hanging around investors who basically only bought houses with foundation problems, and that didn't fade them. So
Interesting.
yeah. And I think that helped me a lot, especially like I didn't know that I would love construction so much because I just didn't know. That wasn't like part of my background, but I do love it. And now I go into it just definitely I'm a lot more excited. I love a construction site and all that. So
Now, how long did it take you after you wrapped up your first perfect BRRRR to move on to your next deal? Were you on the hunt immediately, or you were like, okay, let's take a breather and, do life for a little bit? What'd that look like?
I don't even know how, but we were like, I was in a rush. Like I was like, I want to get as many as I can, which was great because at the time the real estate market was very hot and interest rates were really low. So we were able to ride that wave. I also, just a quick side note, it was in Concord, North Carolina. So Concord is about 40 minutes away from Charlotte. So That's like, I think that's where it was like still easy to get into. So then Tom's strategy, which proved to be really good, was not now let's, we bought in Concord, let's continue buying Concord. And the reason is we buy one house there, we make it nice, we push the envelope for the rents, now we have a comp. So if we buy
use your own comps.
Exactly. So, and I was like, all right, Tom, what's next? Because he was responsible for doing all the calculations. So then he found another property when we're still wrapping up with the first property because we're like doubling down, we didn't even know appraisal with everything that was going to happen, but we're like, let's just do it. Let's just keep going. And we bought our second house while we're still finishing up the first house. We just didn't want to lose momentum.
Yeah, no, I get it. Now, I forgot to ask you, when you bought your first deal, did you do it with an LLC or did you guys do it in your own name? And what was the financing? Was that like a 5-year fix, then it resets? Or like, talk us through that. Like, did you have all that together or did you just buy it in your own name?
No, we got LLC beforehand.
Yeah, you did it all right. Yep. And now the debt you got on it, was that a commercial lender that you went to? So like 5-year fix, 20-year AM, something like that?
No, we just got a regular mortgage, that's like a 30-year mortgage on it.
Oh, okay. Got it. All right. So yeah. And so you're still locked into that. That's what I was curious about because, if we're 5 years away from your first flip ish and a lot of that debt starts resetting. So like 2020, 2021, a lot of that stuff's coming due now. And you see a lot of people kind of freaking out or selling because they can't make the numbers work anymore due to cash flow. No, interesting. Okay. So the second one, did that go as well as the first? And did you buy it from the same kind of like wholesaling group that you pieced out on?
No. So that was literally the only deal that I ever bought from them. Cause then after that, nothing made sense. That one was just like a mistake on their end, which was great for me because the margins were great. But then after that, it just like, no, it doesn't work for us. We want something that we can still make money. Like they say, like there's no meat in the bone. So there's no meat in the bone for me. I'm not going to buy it. Right. And that's kind of how it was for them. No more.
What became your favorite method of sourcing leads on properties to buy? Were you MLS only or did you guys do some marketing? Maybe talk us through that.
So Tom found everything, believe it or not, on MLS. And even if he wasn't on MLS, somehow it was like, yeah, no, this one's on MLS, but I have another one coming up that I haven't listed. So it was just kind of like word of mouth sometimes, but a lot of it was weird. It was mostly MLS, believe it or not. But it was like this person who listed this house that was supposed to be in this one part of MLS, but it was an agent from a different area and it was like wrong. So people weren't really familiar with the property because it was from a different county. It was just like random things that kept popping up, but mostly through MLS or Craxi.
Oh, I like that. Okay, so you found basically kind of a glitch in the matrix where they had an incorrect listing, and then you took full advantage of the fact that it wasn't visible to a lot of other investors that might have normally jumped on it. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that was like one of the flips that we did. That's how we found it. It was amazing.
Yeah, love it. Now, your second deal that you bought like this, did you also BRRRR that, or did you end up flipping it, or what was the situation there?
So we BRRRRed that one too. The second one we BRRRRed, and I think we didn't flip until I think we had like 4 or 5 properties that we had BRRRRed, and then that one we wanted to BRRRR, but timing with everything. What happened was like we renovated the house. And then I was about to give birth and Tom was like, I don't have the bandwidth. I don't have the capacity to like find a tenant and do all of that. Let's just flip that one. The numbers work. So we flipped that one. And like our intention wasn't to flip, but it worked out. So we just took advantage of it.
Yeah, so you had a couple of different exit options and decided to take the cash, redeploy that into future deals. No, I like it. Now, okay, so you mentioned that you were about to deliver your first child, it sounded like.
That's right.
Where at in the timeline of your investing was that? That was right when you first got started or kind of like shortly thereafter?
No, we were like full momentum. My older one, he was born in 23.
Mm-hmm.
No, he was born in 22 because then I had my second one in 23. So it was like kind of back to back. The first one was born in 22 and we were in full swing of speed. We had just bought our house in Charlotte and we were still like doing a lot of renovations. So I remember being pregnant with him and I was renovating like 6 houses at the same time. And I just somehow had a lot of energy. And to this day, the kid loves construction. He loves the word construction. He says he wants to be a construction worker. I was like,
oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
He's
You're
three,
like
so.
You're like the Corey family here.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Start them early.
Exactly.
Did kids change your goals with what you were doing at the time?
It did. It changed everything. So then when my first one was born, we were still living in Charlotte, but Tom's family lives in New York. So then it started getting hard for me, just being all by myself and just no family around. My family, so I have most of my family still in Brazil. And then my sister, she lives in Canada. So that was closer, but it was still hard for her to fly into Charlotte. She did when my son was born. She was with me for a few weeks, but I started feeling really like very lonely. And it got hard. And then when I found out I was pregnant with my second son, we had just switched to let's do commercial real estate investing. And I told him, I was like, listen, Tom, like I can't have my second son here. Like we need to go back to New York. And it was kind of, you have to go with your flow. And I think after I became a mom, I become softer in a sense. Like I used to be like, work, let's do it. But then, things change and the priorities change. And then I wanted to spend more time with them. And it was very stressful. Like when we were actually doing a lot of the work and I just couldn't keep doing it anymore. Like I told you, I was still tiling with when I was pregnant with my first son and it was fine, and then Tom's like, well, it's a little loud. Maybe you shouldn't be cutting tiles, your belly's right there. And I was like, oh my God, that's true.
You're on the table saw or the tile saw and you got your baby bump.
Got a little insulation around just to make sure.
So did you ended up, are you in New York now then? Is that where you guys
so
live?
we live in Long Island now. We moved.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. So you primarily did that, it sounds like, for your support system, and there were a lot more people you knew and could kind of like help out and be around your folks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So why pivot into commercial?
For a lot of reasons. So when we started, the word commercial sounded really scary. And, I don't know if you picked up, but we're a little bit like cautious when it comes to like doing things. And especially Tom, he's very, very cautious about everything. And that's the biggest thing. Like he's always trying to make sure that even worst case scenario, we can still make money. We can still have some sort of exit strategy that we don't, go belly up. But residential was good. What I realized is that it's going to take a lot more in order to scale. You need a lot more roofs, and like I said, like we're used to a certain lifestyle and we didn't want to compromise on that. And it just got to the point I'm like, okay, if we want this much cash flow, then how many more houses do we have to do? And just the thought of it was like a lot. And I was like, no, I don't want to do this.
No. What's funny is, I mean, your story mimics a lot of people who have, scaled up and done bigger deals in different asset classes. And it seems like most 98% of investors start in single family. Mm-hmm. Do you think in looking back at what you did that was the right move, or do you wish you would have gotten into commercial first?
I think it was the right move because it taught us like kind of like our places. I didn't know what I liked. Tom didn't know what he liked. And also learning to work with each other because we were engaged and we had bought our first house. And so we weren't even married. That's like kind of bold, because things happen. And we were like, no, we're all in. Let's do it. So I think it was helpful in the sense of like, we had more information available for residential. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of people are more comfortable with residential Commercial is a little looser in the sense of like, it's a little looser in a lot of things. So I think the prices are different. When a contractor goes in, they hear the word commercial, numbers go up. When it comes to permits, it's different, So I think it's easier to go into residential in a sense. But then now that I know commercial, I think commercial is more straightforward than residential.
Yeah, I think
you got to go through the basics.
I think, the other aspect of it is most people grew up in a house, or maybe it's an apartment, but most people know what a house is, how it's supposed to function, the different, components that make up a house. And they understand that this house is worth this and the house down the street is going to be fairly similar. And then when you look at commercial, I know when I was doing this, I had kind of a similar eureka moment where I was like, okay, I want to get out of my job. I want to build up my passive income. I want to, get enough rentals where I can exceed my monthly expenses and get out of the rat race. That was kind of my deal. And then I bought, I think I was, I don't know, maybe at like 20 single families. And I was like, what? This is going to take forever, to get up enough cash flow. And then as you get older and you start having kids and, you make more income at your job, it's like gets harder and harder and harder because that goalpost keeps on moving. Your number isn't the same as it was 5 years ago. It's different. But I think, your familiarity with single family residential, knowing, comfortably what something is worth, it's easier to pull comps. In commercial, I was just like, how do you even know what this is worth? Like, I didn't understand how you did the net operating income and cap rates and like how that all worked together. It's like 101 versus advanced level, calculus. That's how I always felt about it. And it takes a while to get to learn commercial, but
I do think it's the legacy though, the legacy families where those are the people jumping right into the commercial.
You're right. I think
like my parents were flippers. I learned the basics. I understand what NOI is, and I know how to I know how to analyze the deal. And those people feel a lot more confident jumping right into the commercial because they're a lot smarter because they've had a life lesson in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they've got a safety net too with, having people that know, like, and trust them and care about them, their family. And they can be like, no, don't do that. Or, you can get an in-house mentor, because
if one of our kids between the three of us jump into this, most likely they're going to be the ones that are going to be 10Xing us. Really?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Exciting.
Really quick. I was a complete moron the first 10 years I was doing this, and arguably still am.
Yeah, we all are.
Okay. Tell us about your first commercial deal. How did you get comfortable stepping into that type of asset class? Like, did you read any books? Like, what type of content? How did you talk to people? Like, how does somebody, bridge that gap in comfortability?
So Tom is always the one who's like, oh, by the way, there's like this one thing and there's this one episode and there's this one book. I read them and I love it, but I think he's the one who does like the research behind, and then he'll tell me and then I'll read. But then at that point, I was in full on mom mode. Luca, my older one, was very young. So he came up to me, he watched the Bigger Pockets episode on commercial real estate and he took notes and he was like, all right, I want to learn a little bit more about that. And so we were playing around in MLS after we put the kids to sleep. And he's like, how do I look into commercial? And I just showed him. And then this property popped out. I think it had just been listed like that day or the day before. And it was also in Concord, North Carolina. It was a mixed use building. And downtown Concord, for those who don't know, it's very small, but it's very charming. And somehow Tom loves that area, which is, I get it. It's very cute and it's growing and they're really putting a lot of money into it. So then he goes, I want to see this property. So we go, it was like the three of us, me, him, and our little one. And we're walking around and we meet with the real estate agent and he fell in love with the property. Like it was mixed use. So that, had two commercial places downstairs and upstairs was being used as an office. And he was like, can we turn this into an Airbnb? And we checked and, yes, we could. And that was the biggest thing. So like to increase NOI, we wanted to make sure that, we could raise the rents a little bit because they're still a little bit stale. But then if we can turn upstairs into an Airbnb, that changes the game for us when it comes to, sell the property. The NOI is going to be completely different.
So, okay. And I'm going to dig into this if that's okay in this particular deal. I like mixed use properties. I own a few of them and they're cool, right? Because it's a mix of residential and commercial a lot of times. Okay, you mentioned there were a couple of commercial bays on the lower level, and then there was, I think you said, an office upstairs that you wanted to convert the office into an apartment. Is that kind
An
of the plan?
Airbnb. So that the plan was like to turn into an Airbnb just because the cash flow is so much better. And, you know, being that we just had a kid, we're like, cash flow is important. And the place was currently occupied. So what happened was, like, part of the negotiation was that we would buy the tenant out. So we would give him some money and then he would move out, because his lease was like a 5-year lease, and that did not make the numbers look good. So we're able to buy him out.
That was the upstairs tenant, the one you wanted to Airbnb? Okay.
Yeah.
So you bribed the tenant to leave.
Essentially.
And sort of, no, okay. I'm curious though. When I'm thinking of an office, typically you're going to have, you know, a bathroom or a couple bathrooms, maybe a kitchenette area, but not like a full blown kitchen, right? So you'd had to add plumbing and electrical and all that. Was that a big lift to get that converted over into a residential space that you could rent?
No, it was random because it looked really ugly. And I joked, I was like, if I can make this work as an Airbnb, I can make anything work. But it did have a full on kitchen, and it had 2 bathrooms, being that one was a half bath, the other one was a full bathroom. So the bones were there, you know, and each office, it wasn't tiny. They were pretty big. So I don't know if, like, back in the days when, you know, the horses were still on the streets, if that was like a residential area, but it was big. It was really big. Like, each room was actually like, it looked like a room and it felt like a room. So we could benefit from that. The layout was a little weird, but, you know, I somehow worked some magic and it worked.
Yeah, I mean, you can capitalize on the weird aspect of it in Airbnbs and, like, do some crazy designs and stuff like that. And people are like, "Oh my God, this place is so cool!" And you're like,
exactly.
"Yeah, you should have seen it before."
We call it unique in the Airbnb business.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, we have unique properties.
But okay, so what did you buy that building for? Do you remember?
Yeah, so that was the first time that we were willing and open to getting outside capital. That was like our number one thing. If we're going to go in and if we're going to learn on our own dime. And so we did that for a long time. And for that one, we opened to an investor. So we had an investor coming in. We bought it at $650, I think.
$650. Okay.
Yeah.
So the commercial bays down below, were those already leased as well?
They were. And the tenants were great. So all we needed, because the leases were coming due, just needed to renegotiate a few things, and it worked out fine. Like, downstairs was fine. They were set. They're happy. The places were cute. But the upstairs, really, that's kind of like where we focused our attention.
Yeah. All right. Now talk about this part. So you convert the office space upstairs into an Airbnb. You're living in New York at this point.
Exactly.
If I got that right.
And
this is located outside of Charlotte. I don't think that's very close. I'm a little geographically challenged when it comes to the East Coast, but I assume you're not going down there and cleaning between, guests, right? This is a little bit smaller town, I would guess.
This is when you want to use the Turo app.
Yeah. So how do you find a short-term property manager that you think is going to do a good job in a smaller town like that? And also when you're several hours away, like what did that look like?
Yeah, so we were very fortunate. Like, for the renovation, everything, I was in New York. So that was like the biggest thing. We're like, can we do this remotely? And fortunately, I had already a team that I assembled, because I basically act as a GC for all of our properties. So I had my subs and the people I like and trust. That's the biggest thing. Like, I don't like working with people that, you know, will be iffy. I'm Brazilian, but I'm always on time. And these are big things for me. So after, you know, like, working with so many people, there's a lot of people that I didn't want to work with, and there's few people that I wanted to work with. And so they basically acted as me, you know, so we're FaceTiming a lot, and especially my right hand man, like, he did a lot of the managing for me and all of that. So that was like the renovation aspect. And then we flew into Charlotte, to Concord, for like 2-3 weeks just to get the Airbnb ready. And that was like right before I gave birth to my second one. So like a few months before, when I could still travel. So we had to like time everything. And so we were there for 3 weeks, me, my husband, and my little one, just prepping the Airbnb and make sure everything would be ready. And then after that, because we already had another Airbnb, we knew the systems. We had already like worked out some kinks, and we have a cleaning company that was working with us. So it was just basically extending it, and we manage everything remotely.
Oh, okay. So you do the management then yourself?
Yes, all of it.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, that's how you become a superhost. When you put the trust into somebody else, they fail you. And I've learned that lesson over and over again. One thing that I was just talking to a buddy recently, and he lives in a small town in Nebraska, and a town of like a couple thousand at most. And he was telling me, he's like, yeah, there's one Airbnb in this whole town, and they're not too far off the main interstate going through the state. And he's like, that Airbnb is never open. It is booked out for months consistently. And it was like a property they bought for like $12,000 and just renovated it. It's really basic, but they live in town clean. I'm like, man, if you could really like, if there is really a value, because there's no oversight, no permits, no rules, but when people come visit their family members, they don't necessarily want to stay in their house, or there's no room in that house, or if somebody's doing renovation or work, there's no hotels or anywhere to stay. So this one Airbnb is consistently rented. I'm like, is there a market there that's untapped? And if so, like if you get your hands on these houses you can pretty much buy it for cash. As long as you can find a good cleaner and a maintenance guy in every town that is dependable, that could be extremely lucrative. Getting $50, $75 a night on a property that you spend, maybe you're all in for $25,000.
Yeah. And the thing too about Concord is because so Charlotte's known for having the NASCAR races. It's actually in Concord. It happens there. It's like maybe like 15 minutes away from like downtown Concord. So yeah, that's what they're known for. And there are a lot of events that happen there. And a lot of people travel for like weddings and also like family events. So that one, both of them are in Concord. So, and they don't hurt each other because the other one that we have, it's a house, it's fenced. So it's more like for families. And this one, because it has like a loft feel, it's just different crowd that book different Airbnbs.
Yeah. Now, sidebar here. Do you live in a house in Long Island, or do you live in an apartment?
No, house.
House?
Yeah.
Is Long Island like one of the few places that it's realistic to actually get a house in the 5 boroughs, or what is it, 6? I don't know what I'm not really hip to New York all that much, as you can tell.
Right. I'm not either. And I've been here for a while, so I still get lost with like my names. But so Long Island is about where we are right now. It's like about an hour and 30 minutes from the city. So it's a little further, and you can still find houses. But when we're looking for houses, we were like, what do we do? Everything was so expensive. But, being that I love construction and I love a challenge, I found this property. It was on Zillow, and it had been listed for 6 months. And, the market was really hot in New York. No houses were going for sale for like 6 months. But this one house, it needed so much work. It was not livable. And that's the house that we fell in love with. So we had to renovate.
I hear the construction equipment outside still. So are you still doing work outside?
No. Done.
Okay, let's jump over to motels. So it looked like, based on our research here, that you got into the boutique motel business as well. How'd that happen?
So we love Airbnbs. That's the thing. Like when we did one, I just like fell in love with it. I love interior design and I love construction. So I was like, all right, this is good. We can get somewhere. We can make good money because the cash flow it varies, but to me, is more attractive than the little family houses that we're doing, which is good. It's steady and, it's safe. But then I like the idea of like creating moments, creating environments, and like the Airbnb was very much like that. But when we started like thinking like, what are we doing next, right? We're now here in New York. Airbnbs are kind of like, you can't do Airbnbs in New York City. Regulations like stop completely. And so like you're always at the mercy of like regulators, and like, your business can just end tomorrow. Like if they decide that's a good idea. So we didn't want to deal with that. It's too risky. And so then I have my Instagram, and then I saw Britt Anderson, the investor girl, Britt, and she had bought a place in Mariposa in Belize. And I told Tom, I was like, oh, there's like a webinar, let's just join and see. And so we joined the Hotel Investor Academy, because also the biggest thing for us, commercial it's a little looser in a lot of things. We didn't want to go in without knowing what we didn't know. So we wanted to make sure that we're backed by people who had been doing this for a long time, who understand more than us, because we had no experience. And so now, we're going under contract with 2 motels, which is super exciting. I can't wait to start construction. But it's different. Like, timing is different. The way that we're going about it is very different,
Okay, so you're keeping them motels, but you're focusing on Airbnb rentals with the units. Is that correct? Is that what I'm understanding?
No. So then we switched out of the Airbnb completely because we still have them. It's fine. It's cash flowing good. But then we want to transition into acquiring hotels, motels for a number of reasons. I think the biggest thing is like keeping it all, like versus having like 10 Airbnbs in different places. Like you have 10 keys. In this case, it's like 27 keys into one place. So it's easier to manage. It's like one team doing everything, one general manager managing everything. So keeping that aspect a little bit more functional when it comes to the operations, it's easier for us. And then I still get to do the whole like experience, the whole like make it feel different. And that's where I feel more passionate about.
Are you putting a flag on it, or are you guys creating your own brand with all your hotels?
No, we're creating our own brand. One is in Daytona Beach. The other one's in the Hamptons, New York. Very different market, very different feel.
Yeah. See, a lot different. I've been to Daytona Beach. It's crazy down there.
Exactly. So that's kind of like where we're going. And that's how I am with every single property that we do. I joke that no matter what, I will always make sure that when I get out, I'd be like, I would live here. This is nice. I don't care how much it costs as far as like the house and the area. It's okay. Like we can still make it look nice on a budget. It can still make people feel special. And when they come in and they're proud of going to that house, to live in that house, that's what drives me.
Liz, is there like a website we can go to see all your hotels? Like if we want to book them if we're traveling?
So because we're still under contract, we haven't started the renovations, but we're going to start posting more on Instagram as we go along.
Yeah, that's cool. How many keys are these properties? The one in Daytona and the one in the Hamptons?
It's weird. Both of them are the same exact number, 27 keys on each.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I know, right? That wasn't planned.
Yeah. Now, okay, what does a 27-unit hotel cost in Daytona versus, or can you share that yet since you're under contract?
Yeah, I don't think I can yet.
Oh,
but
okay.
We will. Our goal is to get everything, like wrapped up. We're almost there, hopefully next week. It's been a minute. There's a lot of back and forth, especially for the one in the Hamptons, because the way that we're going about it, the way that Tom's negotiating everything, just so it makes sense for us.
Don't worry. Owen's been renovating a hotel for like 3 years.
Yeah, I have. But no, okay, so 27 keys, one in each place. Now, do you have to have an on-site person there, or do you just run this kind of similar to how an Airbnb is run? So each room is its own unit, and you don't need to have like a person to go and show them and like, here's how you do laundry and here's continental breakfast or any of that. Like, what's the difference between a one of that size and say like a Holiday Inn?
So I think that is about the experience, right? And we're all for like giving people the boutique experience that I love. When I go to a hotel, what's the thing that I expect, So it's hard for me, the idea of like automating everything. I love the idea of automating as much as you can, but I still feel like you need that people thing, the exchange, how's your stay going? So for both of them, we want to make sure that we have a full-on staff to make sure that everything runs smooth and they have that person experience.
Now, the 2 that you're buying, do they come with existing staff? Like, are you going to be able to step into this and be like, okay, Joe, you run this one, and Susie, you're running this one? Or are you going to have to like start from scratch and recruit, hire, and interview and hire and all that? Or what say you?
I think that we're going to keep everyone, like for now. Because it's running okay. I think the biggest things, like both places lack personality, lacks a lot of things. The one in the Hamptons is a little bit better than the one in Daytona as far as like what it looks and feels. But it's still, it lacks a lot of the things that we can do, which is like adding the brand, the personality, the touch. But they are operating, and it's not like it's hard to get staffing or anything like that. No, it's going pretty good. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like to the extent that we can accommodate people, I am more than happy to. And I obviously depends, right? So when we start management styles and everything, I want to make sure it's a win-win for everyone. So our goal is to keep everyone for now.
I feel like my 5-unit Airbnb is like its own little boutique hotel.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Boutique in air quotes. Yeah, no, I just, man, you you don't mess around. You just jump right in. You're like, yeah, I'm going to get into hotel or motels. And then we're like, okay, tell us about one. You're like, oh, actually I have 2 under contract in like completely different sides of the country. Like that's bananas.
She's got tiger blood.
I know, man. That's pretty impressive. So I know you probably don't know how it feels yet to own and operate a hotel. I mean, obviously all this sounds exciting and you've got a great plan and, you know, I'm sure you'll execute on it, but do you see yourself staying on the path of picking up smaller hotels or motels and turning them into boutiques? Or are you just kind of an all-encompassing opportunist when it comes to commercial properties in general?
I'm all for it. I'm open. I really am, because I think there's so much value with like diversify your portfolio, right? Being that I'm a finance major, like that was like the biggest thing was like on one of our shirts for my finance association, diversify your portfolio. And that's the thing. I'm all for it because it gives you in a sense of like, you know, you don't put all of your eggs in this one basket. And it, to me, makes sense, you know, so I know there's value in commercial and, you know, apartment complexes too, steady cash flow, you know, recession resistant. So like proof rather. So there's like, I don't know, I'm absolutely open to different opportunities as long as it makes sense.
I want to ask you this. Okay, so you started out with some BRRRRs. You did it at probably, arguably, one of the best times in the history of real estate investing in the U.S.
Yes.
With interest rates and pricing and just how hot the market was. And you can get appraisals and the market's going up. I guess maybe during 2022, 2023, you know, 24, 25, it's different now. It's much harder, at least where we operate and a lot of the people we talk to, it's much more difficult to execute it like a perfect BRRRR and still have a cash flow. You know, and you walked away from a Big Four consulting gig, which I assume you were probably well into 6 figures. Mm-hmm. Probably your husband too. Is he still working or are you guys both full-time in this business?
We're both full-time now.
Oh boy. Okay.
Yes.
So it's a lot of money to replace, right? Especially when you got a growing family, you're moving back to probably a little bit higher cost of living area.
Yes.
Obviously you're not destitute by any means, but how do you guys generate enough cash to where you can, you know, afford a good lifestyle like you're used to and so forth when it's much more difficult now in the economy?
By, you know, doing the same thing, like diversifying our portfolio. So we don't just do one thing. We do a few different things, you know, cryptocurrency being one of them. Tom is really into crypto and he was an early adopter-ish. It was like 2016 when he started. So that was good, you know, and we always like continue doing it. I do see the value also in cryptocurrency. And I know it's very controversial because some people really think it's kind of crazy, but as an investor, if it makes sense to us, then we're all for it. And that's the way that we've been able to keep afloat as far as like the market is always going to change, right? It's just a matter of like, how can you mitigate that when things don't go as we want? Everyone wants like low interest rates and everything, but it doesn't always go that way, and diversifying and just to make sure that. Yeah.
Now you also have your real estate license, correct?
Yes.
Do you use that much other than for buying your own deals or selling your own deals? Or do you like list properties, or is that just kind of like, I have it, I don't really use it?
Yeah, I thought that I was going to be a really good real estate agent, and it turned out to be not my passion. And I was like, what am I doing? This is not cut out for me. So I just use it just to buy our own properties. And it's great, you know, like saves us money and we can negotiate on commissions a little bit. But that's it. That's the extent of it. There's so many other ones that are great out there, and I'd rather work with them.
If you're buying stuff out of state, make sure you definitely say, hey, I'm a realtor and I want a referral fee back. That's all negotiable too.
Yeah. And we've been like, you know, negotiating a lot of the times, like the way that we do it is like for these commercials, you know, let's all come to an agreement and you're going to take a little portion of your commission because we're representing ourselves. So, you know, just always like negotiate to make it work for us too.
Yeah. Smart. Yeah. Okay. Everything that you have talked about to this point sounds like it has just gone by the book, according to plan, and nothing's gone wrong. Seems like you guys are rock star real estate investors, you know, got out of Big Four, dove right into this deep waters of commercial real estate and hotels. Surely you got something that didn't go exactly like you were hoping. We have a section that we call Failing Forward, where we dig into, hopefully you have something like that, or at least you can make me and Ted feel better about ourselves and maybe tell us something that slightly went off of the business plan you guys put together. You got anything like that in mind?
A lot of things went off. It was like 5 years and a lot of things like went unplanned. Well, something that we had to like overcome was like Tom got fired 2 weeks before our wedding, and we had a bunch of properties that we're going to refinance, and he needed to get a job. How can we do it? And it was like, there's a lot of things that went that way, and we worked like different ways around it, but it was hard. And there's a lot of things that I'm like, people say it's easy. It's not easy. It's hard.
Yeah, can you just, you're going to get a phone call verifying my employment. Can you just say I still work here?
It was weird because it kept happening. It was like different jobs and different opportunities. And it was like, I think it's the universe's way of telling us, we need to figure this out and you need to get out of a W-2, because it puts so much in, especially with like health insurance and having kids and everything. Whew, it's hard.
Yeah. I when I finally left my job, I was doing real estate on the side for 12 years before I finally got the cojones to resign and focus on it full time. And I finally, I get up the nerve to do it. I got my resignation letter and all that. And I quit. I gave a month notice because I was working on some projects that I would have felt terrible if I would have left somebody hanging, So I was like, that'll give me enough time to work through this. So then I leave, right? And I'm now, a couple weeks into being a full-time real estate investor, and I'm doing my own thing and my own schedule. And then I get a call from somebody that I used to work with, and they're like, hey, this is how they said it. Good thing you left when you did, because our entire department just got laid off.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, yeah, except I would have probably gotten about $60,000 in severance if I would have stuck around for two more weeks and only resigned it. I was like, of course this happens to me. I worked at this company for 10 years, and the day that I pick is like 2 weeks later. Of course, my boss never said like, hey, why don't you wait a couple weeks? We'll make this.
No, they want to give it to
No, of course not.
Yeah, that would cost them $60,000. But that was like, there was a lot of moments like that, unfortunately, that we were still dependent on a W-2, and no more W-2. Tom just got fired. It was hard, and like how we make things work and how we pivot, how it was just like, there's a lot of like, let's sit down, let's crunch some numbers, let's make sure that this makes sense. It was tough.
Now, from how you describe your husband, and I'm going to take some liberties here, so fact check me on this. It sounds like your husband is a really good researcher, and he is a good lead sourcer for potential deals. You're a really good designer, and you enjoy the construction aspects of it, and have, I would assume, a big hand in the Airbnb management and so forth. It seems like you're pretty passionate about that. Is that, am I on track here?
Yeah, okay. He does a lot of the Airbnb management as well. There's like so much that we can acquire. And so like he works on that. And then the Airbnb management, we worked it out in a way that's like a little bit more optimized. So it's very much hands off for us.
Yeah, cool. Now, are you guys still doing flips as well, or is it more focused on operating your commercial properties and the portfolio you have, and then you got your hotels? Obviously, that's going to be you're going to have to definitely both keep some eyes on that to make sure that everything stays on the rails, right? Yeah. Do you see yourself maybe hitting pause on acquiring more stuff while you get these hotels sorted out, or are you just like, we're going to keep going?
I am very intense. So I already told him, like, Tom, I really would love to do a farm experience. So that's kind of like where he's going next.
Yeah, you sure are all about diversification. It's like you're buying one of everything. It's like, I'll take it all.
It's exciting, I've always wanted to have chickens in my backyard. That was like the biggest thing. But then I'm terrified of mice, and I heard that they attract mice. So no, I live in New York, and I already got plenty of that. So I don't want to deal with that. So, if I get a farm, then it stays like all the animals, the wildlife and everything. But it's exciting because I've always been very passionate about nature and like being outside and everything.
Yeah. Funny you should say chickens, because I just bought a house close to Omaha where we live. And I went through it. It was, I got a phone call from our website, and they're like, hey, we want to sell. And we've done this one time before. We sold to a house flipper and it worked out fine. We were happy with it. We need to move. We want to sell it as is. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come take a look. Walked it. it's pretty clean, needs a little bit of work cosmetically and so forth, but I was able to get it for a pretty decent price, I think. We'll see how it ends up with the market, how it is right now. It's hard to sell. But I send a guy over there I have a regular dude who's Dennis is his name, and he's got like this big, like beat up blue box truck that he always comes. He's my clean out guy. So I'll call him and I'll be like, I haven't talked to him in 6 months, say. And then he'll answer the phone and he'll be like, what do you got? He's just a rough dude, but I'll be like, I got a house for you, Dennis. And he's like, all right, cool. Where is it? And then he'll go over, look at it, and then he'll give me a bid. And I'll be like, yeah, rock and roll, man. So he goes over there the next day and he's like, he gives me a call and he's like, so what do you want to do with the chicken coops? And I'm like, I didn't realize it, but I never went on that side of the exterior of the house because you had to like walk through a gate and stuff. And it was kind of like,
were they full of chickens too?
No, there wasn't any chickens in it, but there were two like big chicken coops on the side of the house. And I'm like,
bring them to my house. I want them in the backyard.
No, he goes, what do you want me to do with these? And I was just at a complete loss in hundreds of projects over, 20 years I've been doing this. And I'm like, I got nothing, man. I'm like, look, I got to get some eyes on this. I don't know what I'm dealing with. So I just go over there and I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if anybody wants it. You know what I mean? It's like, I should have called you if I would have had this interview a couple
I would have
weeks
taken
ago.
it.
Yeah, just ship those babies to Long Island. But no, yeah, it never ceases to amaze me that every single week something new happens after all this time. You know what I mean? It's like you never have seen it all ever.
I still like the goldfish story.
Yeah, God, I've got a lot of them, but no, this is great. So you've assembled a portfolio of commercial and residential and hotels, and it sounds like you're getting into farm rent, some flavor of investing in farms. Super, super cool, man. I'm excited to see how this plays out with the hotels, especially. We're going to have you back on and tell us about all your trials and tribulations with that business.
Yeah.
We were connected through Jason Dries. We're both using his coaching services. Can you tell me why you end up jumping on with him, and what are you hoping to get out of that?
So Jason started working with my husband first.
Got it.
Well, it's funny because like when we started the journey, I had a coach and he had a coach through Jason's team back in 2020. And it really did help him a lot. And I felt like that, it helped us like go forward. And after that, I didn't have coaching anymore. And then once we joined the Hotel Investor Academy, Jason was one of the guest speakers. And it was at a time that, as exciting as it is, like all of it, it's very scary in a sense. It's overwhelming, right? Like you don't know what we don't know. Like, is this the right path for us? Like, now that we're doing this full time, like, are we doing the right things? There's so much doubt and a lot of fear. And I know, I'm all for like understanding the frequency and everything, and being that we're so scared and so unsure, like if we're doing the right things, we both needed to get more clarity to know where we're going, because I know that when you have clarity, things flow and they go faster. Yeah, and true. We're not in a position that we go like, oh yeah, maybe in a few years we'll do it. No, like we have a family and we want to make sure that we provide the best for our family. And our time is also limited, right? Like we're parents and they're very little. My little one is 1, so it's going to be 2 in December. But so there's a lot of like moving pieces. And when Tom started working with Jason, there's like a lot more certainty and, it's like, we got this. I'm like, we need this. We need this Kool-Aid. I need to drink this Kool-Aid too. So that's when I started working with Jason, and it's been amazing.
Yeah. He's such a cool guy. Ted's been working with him for a while, and he's grown up right before my eyes.
Have you seen some big changes?
Yeah, I have.
I do stand on a nail board every morning now.
That's weird.
Oh my gosh, that thing is torture. Tom has to do it too. And it's like, I did it for like a few seconds and I'm tough, but what? I can't do that thing.
60 seconds every morning, and he's like, if that's the hardest thing you gotta do, then everything else is easy the rest of the day.
That's
yeah,
hard.
I don't. That's weird. You're so
just don't do it after you take a shower and your feet are nice and soft, because that's when it's worst.
Okay,
you gotta be.
I will file that away. I'll put that in my notes of what not to do when I buy my nail board.
He's like, the next thing you're gonna do, you're gonna walk on a bed of fire and coals. I'm like, I don't know about that one. Wow.
Okay. So, hey, quick question. Are you planning on going to BPCon by chance? Next week?
Next week.
No. So it's actually Tom's birthday on Monday. And I had planned a trip for us, so we're going to London next week. So I'm excited.
Oh, yeah, I would take that over Vegas any day.
Have you been to BPCon before?
No, we haven't. And I really wanted to. I just didn't realize that it was going to be the timing. And the first time that we go away, just the two of us since our honeymoon, because we were busy with houses and then babies. So I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Okay, here's something to think about. Things have changed because BPCon, I think 3 years ago, sold out. And tickets were getting bought and resold for an extra amount of money, right? This year, people that got tickets got an email saying, hey, you can invite one person and get a free ticket.
Oh, really?
And
I didn't know that.
And then they're on the site, they're advertising it's like $9.90. And then when you click on it, they're like $300.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, I mean, you just
I think
sign of the times.
Personally, I think when, Brandon and Josh,
they got rid of
kind of went out of the picture, and David Green and a lot of
they've kicked all the influencers out of the group.
People that a lot of Bigger Pockets fans have grown to love and know and trust over the years. They're kind of out of the picture now, and it just seems more commercial. You know what I mean? It seems like it's run by a private equity firm, which it is. So it's like it's definitely different. And then I think this is my take, and I think you would agree with me. They moved the BPCon to Cancun. And I think that was a mistake because there were a lot of people that didn't want to go, either couldn't or didn't want to go out of the country for a real estate conference. So
and that was under the previous ownership.
Yeah. But I think that was a miss. But hopefully they get back on the track.
I was really excited to go to the Vegas one.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. And Owen's going, and the National REIA conference I've never been to, and for all the local leaders. And so I'm like, I got to go to at least one of these and check it out. So
I want to. I do. Before, honestly, we've been like busy with everything that we've been working on and babies. And so, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right in the thick of things. That's for sure. Well, this has been awesome. Liz, we've got one last section that we call the
OT with Owen and Ted.
You like our little voiceovers there, don't you?
They used to be pre-recorded back when we first started.
we like to keep it real. We've got 5 questions we're going to throw at you. Ted did not prep you for these, so sorry about that. But the first question, I do this every time. The first question I've got for you is, if you were going to write a book, and I'm assuming you're going to at some point if you haven't already, what do you think the title or topic would be?
So I think it would be about motherhood and being a business owner, that you can do it. And I know there's some books out there, but something along those lines. I haven't thought of a title yet, but maybe like you can do it, It's been really challenging for me to find that balance, being a mom, being
boss mom,
a business owner, and not feeling guilty about it. And at the same time, being that I love working so much and I love being a mom. And sometimes it's just like finding that balance. So, and the biggest thing that I would write for me is you can do it. You don't know how, but you can do it.
I'm going to definitely share you one of the podcasts we did with a local entrepreneur, Jerry Schlickburn. And the words that you're saying are the exact words that said that she was dealing with. She's got 3 kids and they're all adopted kids, and and she owns several businesses. And I think that you guys would relate really well, because a lot of what you just said reflects back at what she says over and over again.
Yeah, for sure.
Great answer. The next question is, it's your podcast. You can invite anyone in the world today that's alive. Who is it? And what one question do you want to ask? Like, what's that? The dying question that answer everything for you. You know what I mean? And it doesn't have to be real estate related.
I think it would be Brené Brown. She's a researcher on fear and vulnerability. And I've read a few of her books, and she has such a real take on things, like she keeps it real. And I love that she keeps it real. Her voice resonates a lot with me, with the way that she speaks, the way she explains things. So I would love to just get to know her a little bit. So it'd definitely be her.
Liz podcast says, Liz, keeping it real estate.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that one. I like it.
Okay, next question for you. It's sad times in the Bono household. We're at the end of the road for Liz. It's your funeral. Who do you think is going to be the person that will deliver your final message? And what do you hope your legacy is going to be?
That one's a little deeper for me. So I think it would be my son, my older son. I would love for him to deliver a message. And I think the message would be she wasn't perfect, but she tried her best and she loved her hardest. That's
like that.
the message.
Yeah, love it.
If you think back throughout your whole life, what mentor has had the biggest impact on your life? And if you could speak directly to them now, what would you say?
I'm a Cancer, by the way, so like I'm very emotional and like family oriented. So the biggest person would be my mom.
We've had lots of tears on the podcast. So
okay. It definitely would be my mom.
And what would you say to mom?
I appreciate you allowing me to be who I wanted to be, because she's always been my number one, like, you should do it. No, you should try, like as a kid. And just coming here to the US, I was 18 years old and I wanted to learn English, and I had never traveled, been on an airplane, gone outside of my state. And I told her, I was like, Mom, I think I should do it. And she's like, oh yeah, we should do it. You should do it. I'll go with you. So she went to the agency with me. She, she's always been like the first person to push me to go where I wanted to go. And obviously, like as a mom, you don't want your kids to just move and just take off, and she didn't, but she still wanted me to go where I wanted to go.
I think one of the most important things a parent can do is empower their kids to make their own decisions and their own mistakes, but support them along the way. And it comes through when you're an adult. You can look back, and I think back to my childhood. My parents, I didn't think there was anything I couldn't do. Like I never had anybody tell me, you can't do that, or you have to, like, you're a terrible singer or whatever. You know what I mean? I just always believed that I could do whatever I wanted if I applied myself. And I know friends of mine that didn't get that same type of message from their parents over the years, and they have more of a defeatist, or like you know what I mean? They don't have that belief that they can do things, or even if they try something and fail, it's okay. Right. Yeah. So I think, the fact that you're acknowledging that and recognizing that through your own mother, I have no doubt you'll pass that along to your kids as well. But I think that's the biggest disservice that you can do as a parent, is to put doubt in your kid's mind that they're not capable to do what they are aspiring to do. Yeah. That's great. Kudos to your mom. And that's a really nice shout out you gave her there. Right? We'll have to, you'll have to clip that and share it with her.
She doesn't speak Liz, English though, but I'll translate it.
Okay. Yeah.
Liz, where in Brazil are you from originally?
So I'm from I say I'm from Rio because most people don't know that Macaé, it's like a very small town in the state of Rio. So that's where I'm from, Macaé.
Okay. The first and only time I went and visited my family there was, so we went to São Paulo, a little town outside of São Paulo originally, and then Curitiba. And oh man, it was so pretty out there. And I remember before Brazilian steakhouses were a thing here in the States, I went to a Brazilian steakhouse there, and I just remember, I'm like, this is the most amazing thing in the world.
You had the meat sweats.
So I never stopped. And then I remember for years, I'm like, I just want to go back to that restaurant that we went to that just kept on bringing the meat to you. And they're like, and then it came to the States, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go. We went up to Minnesota just go to the Brazilian steakhouse.
It's so good. A lot of eating, that's for sure.
Yes.
Last question for you, Liz. Are you looking for anything in your business right now? Like, do you have a new hire that you're looking to bring on board? Anything that's kind of a gap that you're like, oh man, we need to get this figured out?
So, well, two things. We're going to start raising funds for our deals coming soon.
Okay.
So we'll post more of that on Instagram as we go. So yeah, that's like the one thing. And then the other thing is that because it's getting a little bit out of control for Tom and I just to manage everything. So we're on the lookout for a VA, whether in the US or, elsewhere. We're open to it as long as it's a good fit. So yes, that's what we're working on right now. We're going to open up to investors for the 2 deals and a VA.
Yeah. Now, do you think you're going to do a syndication on that, or is this going to be more of like a JV with people, or is it going to depend on how much money they have?
So it depends. It really depends on like where we're going with it, which we still, believe it or not, we haven't like figured it out yet, because the one in Daytona, it's a big chunk of it's going to be seller financed. So we're going to open up to investors. The one in the Hamptons, I think that one, just because the nature of it's a little bit more money, we're gonna be raising more capital for that one, and it's a cool deal, right? It's like in the Hamptons, and obviously we structure it in a way that it's very conservative, like everything that we've been doing so far. So yeah, I think the one in the Hamptons a little bit more.
Awesome. Now, you mentioned your Instagram. Sounds like you got some plans to start cranking out some content there. What's your handle? How do people find you on that?
My handle is at Liz and Tom Invest.
Liz and Tom Invest, right behind you.
Yeah,
nice.
Exactly.
Okay. For those of you watching on Spotify or YouTube there, that'll be a good little cue card for you. You can take note of that. But Liz, this has been awesome, man. I could talk to you for several more hours, and I just love hearing the story. I love the enthusiasm. I like the work life, family life, that you've built for yourself, and the fact that you guys really left some really high paying jobs and things that people really put on a pedestal to really pursue your dreams and get out and make your own living out of it. And you're going to London. That's super cool. I mean, it's hard to work all that in, but I admire that, and I'm really glad you shared your story with us. So thank you for jumping on.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you both.
Before I wrap my side, because you have the sign in the back, or you get in, start podcasting, put content out there, because I'm assuming because you have that sign behind you, that there's a reason behind it.
So I think the reason behind it was because I think I've always wanted to do the neon signs, and we were not planning on doing a podcast just yet. Yeah. Baby steps. Tom had done podcasts back in the days for his crypto, and he's really into it. And I know the time and the commitment that it takes. So it's not going to be something that we do now, but maybe in the future. But I think for us, it was more so like, let's do a neon sign with our Instagram logo and have it, as our office. So the biggest thing as being husband and wife is that we have a rule: when this is on, we're working. When it's off, we're not working. Work hours are done. So that's our little
open and closed.
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. Well, I just gave you a follow, and when we put this on our out there, we'll tag you on our Instagram also, so that way maybe we can give you some extra followers and check you out. So thank you for sharing your story. It's been awesome. I think that there's a lot of women out there that are going to get strength out of hearing your words. I think there's sometimes fear or regret, and also I think sometimes there's women out there that feel like they can't have a family and also work. And I think that those words are going to inspire other families out there to do what you do, and also reach out to you and get some further inspiration. So thank you so much. So. And thank you to Jason Dries for putting us together. And with that, Owen Dashner, we get us out of here.
On behalf of Aiden Bear, Ted Kosh, and REIA Radio, I'm Owen Dashner, and you've been listening to Liz Buying Up the East Coast 2 hotels at a time. Bono, signing off.
I definitely butchered that again. I'm going to say Bono.
That's why I usually go by Bono, because it's like Buonincontri is so long. And yeah, it's crazy.
Buonincontri. No.
Buonincontri. Yeah, so like in Italian, it would be good encounter. Buonincontri.
Okay. Buonincontri.
I got to tell you, has anyone ever, I'm sure people have told you, you look like Gal Gadot, like a lot, I think.
No one's ever told me that.
Yeah, I mean, I almost called you Wonder Woman a few times. So, yeah, like you, I don't know, man. You popped on the screen. I was like, whoa, is this like a DC Comics? like